Here we are again, guys. Another senior moment. I think this is episode I don't know, early 70s. I think episode 71, 72.
That many? Huh?
Yeah, so if we do one every week, we're like a year and a half into these things,
Wow.
I think. So
That's hard to believe. A year and a half's gone by since I did that first one.
yeah.
I used to do them. I did a lot of the first ones about country music.
Yeah. And then you did different projects.
I kind of got into, sometimes I do the country music stuff, and sometimes
projects.
a project that I'm doing, and sometimes somebody will ask me a question about something that happened back in the day.
Yeah.
And
That's what we've been. That's a theme we've done a couple when we were on road trips, and the
right.
theme that we've had going for the last few weeks is just kind of reminiscing about when you were
and
younger.
I guess you can tell them why we're doing these.
Yeah.
So it won't be like I'm blowing my own horn.
Yeah. I when Dad first came up with the idea, it was your idea of doing the senior moments. You had kind of thought that it would be based around different projects that you would do, different things, kind of just to show people that even old guys can still do stuff.
Yeah, old guys rule.
Yeah. And so that's the way it kind of started out. But then it kind of came to evolve that it was more around you, at least for me, my selfish purpose for this is to get you on camera and honestly and me on camera. Like I try to encourage everybody to get themselves on camera so their kids, even though you don't have to be in your 80s or your 60s in order to make something that you can pass on to your kids, that they can see. Maybe some of you are in your 30s or 40s, and now I'm getting off on a tangent, but we would like to encourage you guys to get yourself. It's not that hard to set up and make some videos for your kids and grandkids and great and for your lineage.
I've got kids, I've got grandkids, now I've got great grandkids, and my great grandkids are at the age where it won't be too many more years before I have some great grandkids.
Yeah.
And I want future generations to be able to see who I was, learn a little bit about how I felt and thought about things, and some of the things I did. I really, to pass that information on is like the ancients didn't have recording devices, but they passed stories down through storytelling around like campfires. Mm-hmm. And it was just tradition that they passed the stuff on. Well, now we have the technical capabilities of passing not only the story, but the actual verbiage and the pictures.
Yeah. And the context. There's one thing about having a written word, but having a video, sometimes stuff can get lost in a written word.
Absolutely.
So to have the context and the inflection and the get involved in the emotion of it and all of that, it's such a waste that more people aren't doing this kind of thing, I think. So we want to encourage you guys, do this for your family, for your loved ones, because I think one of the things that our generation, my generation, and maybe even the generation before, is that there wasn't enough passing down of traditions and stories and family stories, and I think that has kind of got lost over the last 40, 50, 60 years.
Now, I would love to have a record of what my father did and what my mother and father did and what they thought and how they interacted with one another, and I've got fond memories of them. But then my grandpa and my grandma, I can remember them, but there's not a lot of memories there to tie to. So this way, hopefully, this will continue from there. In our family, at least, this will continue on down through the years.
Okay, so that's enough preaching to the
Yeah,
audience
right.
here. So we were talking the other day. The last one, I think we were talking about when you were in the Sacramento area, Nice Landing area, and kind of you were a young kid on the farm and playing in the hay mow
Right.
and that kind of thing. And I remember you had said something about a story that had to do with eggs somehow.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. My brother and I, this is one of the things that my brother and I got involved in. My brother James, he's 3 years older than I am.
Still alive?
He's still alive, yeah.
Yeah.
He's 90 years old now. He's still
Yeah.
alive. But he and I sort of got into things and just, we didn't destroy things, but we sort of got into things and got involved. And the things that we did, kids can't do today. And I'll give you an example. I was about 7 years old, and we lived near a turkey egg hatchery where they hatched turkey eggs and then sold the baby turkeys to turkey growers. And of course, all the eggs didn't hatch. And the eggs that didn't hatch, they would just throw in the river, in the Sacramento River. Well, this was like 80 years ago, so there was no environmental protection agency to tell them they couldn't do that. So they did it, and my brother and I used to go down to the river and we'd get a stick and the eggs would float. And we'd get a stick and pull some of those eggs in and we'd throw them at trees and stuff. And one of us, and I don't remember who, one of us got the bright idea one time. We had to throw them at a car. So sure enough, we gathered up a half a dozen eggs. We got up in this little hill overlooking this little country road. It wasn't a highway. They didn't have freeways in those days. And we heard a car coming. And so both of us hid behind this tree. And then when this car got close enough, we both threw a couple eggs. And we heard the tires on the car screech, and we started running. Well, the guy that was driving the car was a faster runner than we were, and he caught up with us. And he grabbed us both. Didn't hurt us, but he grabbed us both. And he said, "You guys are going to jail." And he drug us back to his car and put us in his car, locked the doors so that we couldn't unlock the doors from inside, and drove us into Knight's Landing to the Justice of the Peace. Justice of the Peace in those days was like a judge and a sheriff, but it was a Justice of the Peace who enforced the law. And so this guy told the Justice of the Peace what we had done. And the Justice of the Peace was an old guy, but he had a very stern look on his face. And he said, "All right, you boys are going to jail." And both my brother and I got big old tears in our eyes. He said, "I have the power to send you to jail, but if you give me your word that you'll never do anything like this again," he said, "you won't have to spend a lot of time in jail." And so we both, "Oh yeah, we promise, we will never do anything like this again." He said, "Well, let me tell you something." He said, "You probably enjoyed sleeping in your own bed and getting up and having dinner with your family and having good food." He said, "In jail, they don't work that way. You sleep on a cot and you get fed jail food, which isn't very good, and they never serve desserts in jail. So if you guys have promised not to do this again and keep your promise, I'll let you go home." And then, so this guy that we egged his car, he actually drove us home. And
And he didn't talk to your mom and dad?
He didn't talk to mom and dad. Mom and dad never, to this, if they were alive to this day, they wouldn't know it. Nobody ever talked to mom and dad. That justice of the peace scared the bejesus out of us. He explained what it was like in jail and what we would have to go through when we could never eat desserts, never eat mom's cooking. And I never forgot that. Now, to be honest, my brother and I did get in stuff later on. You know, we were teenagers, and teenagers in those days got involved in stuff. But the second lesson I learned from that egg throwing, the second lesson I learned was even more important than the first one. The second lesson: don't ever do anything where you can get caught at it. And so that's all I'm going to say about what my brother and I did later on in life. So that's my story about the eggs. That's the egg throwing story.
I hadn't heard all the details on it, but yeah, that's like the original version of the TV show that they had, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago called Scared Straight.
Yeah.
Where they took the kids into the jail, and
right.
you know that's like your version of Scared Straight.
And it happened long before television was ever around, and that just reinforces my belief that you are where you are right now. I mean, everybody that's looking at this, you are where you are because of choices that you've made. I'm sitting here because I chose not to continue a life of egg throwing crime. And I made choices that led me in different directions. And you are where you are because of choices. If you don't like where you are, and pass this on to your children. If you don't like where you are or what's going on, make different choices. And that's all it takes.
All right, I think that we'll wrap it up with that. I think that's about as good as you can get. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll hopefully see you next week.
Yeah, hopefully enjoy this. If you do, let us know.
Yep.
If you don't, let us know.
Leave us a comment.
And,
leave us a comment on YouTube.
I've got a few other things that help shape my life going back that I can pass on that maybe I'll include in some future episodes.
Okay, see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.